Welcome to a Happy New Year 2026. And this is Heller Barnes without the Heller. So it's because in 2026, he has plumbing issues. And so he has a plumber coming over in his place. The funniest thing, he's moving in another, I don't know. Anyway, he would like to move, and I think that's going to happen, but that's over my pay grade. And he may pop in here. So when he gets his plumbing up. So instead, and in addition, I have the wonderful Adam Barr is with me today, and we're going to have a great time. So, Adam, how you doing? How's your New
Happy
Year's?
New Year, Don. I'm honored to be the first guest of 2026, and aside from the cold that three-quarters of the country has now,
Yeah.
I'm doing just fine. It's just my turn, you know? So
Well, anybody who watched the Rose Bowl this year knows that SoCal has had crazy amounts of rain and flooding and stuff like that. And the Rose Bowl parade had some rain, and we've had more rain here the last couple months, last few weeks than we have
mhm.
most years. It's crazy, and it's good for us. We needed it, so we'll take it. And I just whine about it whenever I can because I grew up in Michigan, and so when I start complaining about the rain, it makes me laugh. It makes
Yeah,
me
people in Oregon are snickering at you right
well,
now.
not the whole rest of the country. Anytime, first off, if you hear a Californian, complaining about the weather, then just go, mute them, whatever.
Moving on, yeah.
Because we have no excuse for that. Other than, I have to admit, my houses in Michigan that I grew up in were far warmer than the houses here because they're built for that.
Because they know how to build for cold weather, you know?
And the one thing that the California didn't do up until, if you buy a house that's maybe in the last 10, 15 years, they're pretty well insulated, and but anything that's more than 20, 25 years old, and my house may be 40, it's they're okay, but they're not hyper insulated real well, most of them. And
No.
mine's decent.
Be careful about the M's, Montana, Minnesota, Michigan, Massachusetts, Maine.
Yeah.
It's gonna yeah. If you have a problem with cold weather, don't go there. Mississippi's okay for you, though.
Well, I like it. I don't mind it, but it's one of those,
Missouri.
so, hey, Sherry, Happy New Year back to you. So, and thank you for testing that we have the stream working. So, Adam, I know you're a recovering attorney, if I remember that. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, I take credit for that phrase. I practiced for 6 years in Pittsburgh and Chicago, and the background has helped me in my other careers, but yeah, I mean, I still consider it the best non-scientific analytical education you can get.
You know what? Part of my life as a tech guy was working with some of the largest law firms in the world, and I was around a crazy number of high-profile attorneys doing stuff. Like I hear in Washington, there's some firm, and I think, oh, cool, I worked with that firm. Might have worked with a different office, but anyway, what I have figured out is these are people that can argue all six sides of a discussion,
And
and
come up with a 7th and 8th side too, yeah.
and you would think, and the thing that they can do that's quite impressive is they can take both sides of a discussion, and they can argue it and discuss it as if it's the only side. And
Yeah.
they know both sides, and they practice that. And it's a really, actually, it's not a bad skill. I wish more people, it is a personal gripe, which everyone will appreciate that I'm griping, is that there aren't more people that at least can see both sides of a discussion. And the one thing about attorneys, they don't take it personally when you have a different side than them. They'll argue and they'll argue, and I don't want to get.
Everybody loves to quote the 2, uh, usually misquoted Shakespeare lines about lawyers. "First thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers." Is that Henry V?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then the other one, "Let us be as lawyers in the law, strive mightily, but eat and drink as friends." So, I forget which play that was from, but the you're absolutely right. There's the advocacy part, making an argument seem like it's the only one that anyone should consider. But more important, what you were alluding to is the compartmentalization part,
Yes.
and putting being able to hold maybe conflicting ideas in your head at the same time
Yeah.
and compartmentalizing them so that they become useful.
Yeah, 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 and you know what? And I'm sure you that holds over to a bunch of other things in life where you realize, yeah, my point of view is A, there is a point of view B that I may not
Mhm.
agree with at all, but at least you have to, as an attorney, see the other point of view so that you can argue against it. And you really work, they just work crazy hard at being able to see both points of view. And that's why they can defend somebody. Thankfully, I've never needed it, but they could defend somebody who's done something awful.
Yeah.
And for that period of time, that's their job, is to defend, even though they don't like the person, maybe, or they don't agree with the
Yeah.
person. But that's not the gig.
Well, based on the compartmentalized idea that right or wrong, the Constitution, the bedrock of our government, provides them the right to a defense.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, I mean, that it absolutely works. For some reason, as we were talking, um, Arthur Miller, one of my favorite playwrights, popped into my mind. I'm thinking there's if you he thrived on different characters' viewpoints of the same situation.
Hmm.
Willie Loman saw the world one way. His sons, whom their own mother characterized as bums, saw it another way, and Linda Loman saw it yet another way, hence the conflict. Um, Lesser known play, but just as good, All My Sons,
Hmm.
in which the protagonist saw his manufacturing shortcuts as a way to get by, but they ended up causing airplanes to crash.
Right.
Uh, and those pilots were all my sons. So, but so you see the source of the dramatic tension, and as that's why I think that as an actor, having been through the experience of advocacy and compartmentalization and argument development as a lawyer, it actually helped me
Yeah.
to be courageous enough to make definable characters.
Well, but any good story that we do, there's always, they try to humanize, or they take the worst person in the story, and there is some part about them that you kind of go, huh. And every one of these people, when I first, I don't know any of them personally, but how does a family end up with the dad being a serial killer? And
Yeah.
they don't know it for a couple decades. Now they may have things that seem like out of place, but that person is so compartmentalized and doing a bunch of stuff that it's
Mhm.
crazy. So anyway, whole nother discussion. Howard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So tell me something good. What's been happening? What's the best thing that's happened over the last few months for you?
Well, I'll tell you, I am currently working on the ninth in a series of spy thrillers that I really enjoy, by J. Robert Kennedy, the Dylan Kane books, and the thing that I'm enjoying about that is in book 9, this happens all the time, and we all know about this, a character from book 6 comes back, and I
Mm,
couldn't have known it. So
right.
there's 2 things I think about. Johnny says Johnny Heller is constantly saying, "Don't make any character a voice that you can't do again because it hurts your throat," or some such thing. But,
Did you
you have a
succeed?
record of it. You have it on audio, and also keep records. I have spreadsheet after spreadsheet of book after book where if I'm looking for Echo team leader Brooklyn Tanner, I'll find her in book 6. Not only will I find her, I'll find the time code on the video on the audio reference file
Right.
that I made so that I know what she sounds like
Okay,
and I
but
can do it again.
that's because you're a beginning narrator. No. What there's so here's the thing, the takeaway for everybody else who hasn't been doing this a while. Adams figured out by doing this, he is wasting some time in book 6 by cataloging as characters come up, and it pays off big time later because he had those catalogs that when it comes back around. Now, the other thing that you have going for you that everyone needs to aspire to and be like Adam, and that's that he has found a series and an author who is working a series and coming out with book 9, and he didn't know that when book 6 came out.
No, no, they've come in groups of 3.
Okay.
And series are wonderful, especially, I mean, our friend Phil Thrawn is one who can testify, has been doing a lot of series of science fiction, lit RPG, um, things like that.
Yep.
And one of my very first indie authors, who is in Melbourne, Australia, is about to send me the 14th in a series,
Right.
and it's not the only series I've done for him. So series are, they keep coming back to you for a reason. If you've done your job, if
Yes.
you've conveyed their truth, as Johnny likes to say, and if you've been reliable with respect to deadlines and easy to work with, and we all know what it's like to do that, then it's likely they're going to come back.
Well, it's also
Um,
one of the criteria that I think people, if they're newer to the business, when they're evaluating, should I do this one? I would like to have an author. Now, first, you can't always get this, but it's nice to see that they've done two or three, or
yeah,
they're working it, because the people that do multiples as an author, they are building also usually a fan base.
right.
They understand that this is something that not anybody can write one book. I shouldn't say
Mhm.
anybody, but practically anybody can write one book. But to put in the effort to write a series and continue to write means they're getting some return on it in one way or another. Now, maybe it could be
Right.
vanity and they're retired and that's what they want to do and they don't care that no one reads it. But normally they're getting a return that's strong enough. And then that for a narrator is gold to get somebody who has written
Absolutely.
and continues to write. And so if you're out there looking at something and you're newer and you see somebody, do you have any other books? Would be one of the questions I would, whether I ask them directly or I go do the
Yeah,
research.
check it out on Amazon or
If
Audible or
it's their
both.
first book, then you know what you're taking on. But if it's their
Yeah.
fourth book, you have a chance. That doesn't mean they're going to do more, but it is definitely a different calculation. So what do you look for when you look for a new, if somebody new comes to you, what do you look at that's been helpful for you?
I'm looking at writing proficiency, to make sure it's something of the quality that I want to be involved with, and of course, they're looking at me to see if my narration is a quality they want to be involved with. But I'm looking for track record. Doesn't mean I won't take a first book if it's particularly good. I have taken many of them.
Have they
Some of
paid
them were
off
low.
ever?
Some of them have, yeah. Some of them have paid off well. Um, but I'm if it is something that looks like it has uh, sequel potential or installment potential or series potential, I'm more likely to consider it. And the main reason for that, if all the other boxes are checked, is because I think we all know that the people who listen to audiobooks habitually, they love the creation of worlds and the continuation of worlds. That's, lit RPG depends on that. J.J. Hutto and this 3-book series I just did for him, uh, last one was last year, um, about the role of fire in the building of this world, did very well, and he had an intention of spinning this out. I hope he continues to do so. I mentioned my indie author in Australia, Scott Medbury, the America Falls series, which you mentioned in a promo for this podcast. He has the commitment and the dedication to keep this world moving along with characters who started out at age 15 and are now in their 30s. And
Wow.
he's spinning it out to the next generation. So I've had to age these characters from literally sounding like, like a teenager to somebody who's now a father of young children, and make it believable. So
Well,
yes, there's the income part, which is great. I mean, I'm here to make a living, but it's been extremely satisfying to participate in the creation of this world the same way that a Lin-Manuel Miranda is the gold standard of what Hamilton should be. He created the role.
right.
He created Isaac Race in America Falls, and I'm very proud to have done it.
And so anybody can can do that with no skills, right?
Well, one thing about Scott and a lot of the really good authors that I've worked with is that they understand the proportion of imagination to hustle. You mentioned building a following and building an author brand, is the way it's often referred to. That takes a lot of hustle and time when you're not writing and creating and using your creative imagination. It takes uh, more mechanical things like sitting at your computer and realizing when you should get marketing help and things like that. The ones who know how to meld the imagination that has enough freedom to create these wonderful worlds with business sense and hustle and learning to do these things, those are the ones that seem to succeed over the long term.
Right.
And they know that it's a long game.
Yes. Yeah. And we have a great question. So, and really, so you're looking for somebody like yourself who does the hustle. I mean,
Yeah.
understands that there's some work involved beyond just narration.
Yep.
And most of the people that are listening to this, hey, they already know all this. This is not news to them, but it's good to get that reinforced. Um, so it's an ongoing thing. How do you work with a character that was 15? How did you learn how to age them appropriately? How did you learn that? Because like that's for me, first up, I don't have a concept of what I'd do for a 15-year-old because that's not my strength.
Right.
But then how do you age them, and how did you learn to do that? That's more important to everybody.
That's a really good question. Um, the first thing I will say is that you get help because it's asking a lot. You wouldn't do a play without a director, and so I think you get help to age a character vocally and spiritually and mentally. So I've worked with Johnny extensively. I've worked with Shannon Parks, who is a marvelous coach, and I attend uh, particularly the New England narrator retreat that Johnny runs every year near Boston, and other meetings where I can coach episodically with other people whom I trust, who can give me insights into this. Then what I'm trying to do with knowledge of my vocal instrument, which is, grounded baritone, is don't do anything unrealistic. I say I can sound like a teenager. I can only suggest it. And with knowledge of what your vocal instrument can do, find a common thread that works for this character between ages 15 and 32 and keep it in your vocal performance. And then this is the most important part of this answer. Once you've done it, trust it.
Hmm.
Test it on one or two or three people. Say, hey, does this sound does anything about this sound inauthentic to you? And get people who will be frank with you.
Oh,
Because
that's
I go to, Phil Thron's my accountability buddy. We meet every 3 or 4 weeks and lay it out. Say, hey, have you been doing your marketing? And if we have character questions, say, how does this sound to you? And he'll tell me, that's that. I got out of that. Try something else. But if it's on, it's on. And once it's on, trust it. Every one of us who does audiobooks, whether our background is in just audiobooks, stage, TV, screen, whatever, we know how it feels when we're locked into a character.
right.
When you feel that, trust it.
Yeah.
If you go back and listen, you will find more often than not that you have hit it. Just relax and you've done the groundwork. You've made the vocal reference file. You've gotten coaching. Go.
You know, the funniest thing is there's a character in Top Gun, which is a movie that's what, 40 years old or something like
Gosh,
that.
yeah, yeah,
There's one character uh, in that whole movie that every time I see it, I kind of grin simply because she's the one person in the whole cast that really was a just okay actor. And every time she takes me out of the story, she's only got like 2 lines, but it's
yeah.
kind of like she she must have been the niece of the director or the niece of the
Now I'm gonna have to
sound.
watch.
I
Yeah,
mean, and every time it comes up, she only has like 2 lines in the whole thing. But it stands out because the other actors are strong enough and they own it at a level to where they're believable within their world there. And she's the one that stands out as a she is just an okay. Now 30 years later today, she might be a world-class actor. That might have been her first gig. She got this one bit part that had a couple lines, and it went and she's grown into today being amazing. So I don't mean to act like just because she was that 30 years ago during that filming, that didn't mean that she wasn't on that journey, but it's just amazing to oh, so that tells me Sometimes you get cast in a spot that you're not ready for yet.
Well, and sometimes you reach for a book that you might not be ready for, but,
But
I think by reaching oh, I saw the quote just yesterday, "A man's reach has to exceed his grasp, or what's a heaven for?" Who said that? That was I always like that quote. Anyway, the, we're all developable,
right.
to what you say, that actor, whoever she was, might be pretty darn good
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
My wife and I are, rewatching Homeland, which, holds up really well for being, what, nearly 15 years old, and or at least the 1st season, and I noticed something. My first exposure to Claire Danes many years ago was My So-Called Life. Does anybody remember that?
Oh,
Well, while she was playing a teenager, a high school teenager. Um, I'll tell you one thing, that it's not just her age and her maturity, but it's her skill. During the time that I watched her be Carrie Matheson, I never once think of her character in My So-Called Life.
that's
When I watch Mandy Patinkin, who might be the best thing about that series, he's just fantastic. Um, I never think about him as Che in that musical he was in. It's in Evita. They're just that good at connecting,
right.
and they have the experience.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
that's the mark of a great actor when you don't when you stop thinking of them as it'd be
Yeah.
hard to not see I don't know, Tom Cruise as Mission Impossible. If he does if you see him though in some other things, he does a pretty good job at some of that stuff. But anyway, we have some good questions here, so I want to get to
Yeah,
these.
yeah.
Chris asked a great question here. Using your experience as a narrator and a lawyer, what would my exposure be if I narrated a book that was one, plagiarized, two,
Ooh,
and well, let's take them in order. So if you narrated a plagiarized book, um, do you have any
yeah, that's a good
liability?
well, it might depend on the particular state, but under federal copyright law, if you had taken appropriate, uh, steps to determine that it was an original work, and it was represented to you as an original work, and you had no reason to believe otherwise, I doubt you'd be liable. Also, as a narrator, you wouldn't probably have a deep enough pocket for the owner of the rights to come after you. Um, also, as a as a narrator, you are creating what's called under copyright law a work for hire. In other words, you're hired to do a job to create the work, and you don't own any of it. In every agreement I do with independent authors, and publishers have this covered, but in every agreement I do with independent authors, I include a brief indemnification clause, which says I am not taking the risk. You, rights holder, are taking the risk of any copyright infringement or plagiarism or anything like that that I couldn't have known about. And that it's never come up, thank goodness.
Right.
Um,
Well, yeah, but now that they know that you have all these series, um,
yeah.
and all the great work you've done, then they're going to come after you because now the pockets are so deep. They understand that, or if they don't, they will now.
They will find out that my assets include a nice microphone and a bunch of good baking equipment. But
There
other
it
than
is.
that, yeah, there's not
Okay.
much. Pockets are not very deep.
So, what about an AI generated hodgepodge?
Um, your exposure to legal liability for um, being part of an AI generated book. I can't imagine what the theory of liability would be if somebody took your voice without your knowledge or consent and put it into an unauthorized work, simply because you're not the one who created or disseminated the work. If you participated unknowingly and had no reason or duty to know, I can't figure how you would be liable for that.
And the odds of you getting sued because of you don't. First off, it's expensive to sue somebody,
Yes.
and so there is a barrier to going after
Mm.
most 99% of us, just right there. And is there any copyright infringement if you narrated a book that was copyright infringed upon? But I'm not clear how that works for us.
Well, actually, it's worth mentioning, intellectual property, including copyright infringement, is a highly specialized area of the law. My general sense is that you would not be liable for copyright infringement of, a work that you were hired to do by someone else who is disseminating it in violation of copyright. The part where it might be a problem is that a lot of narrators are looking for books that exit copyright protection because of their age.
Okay.
And they're, if somebody's, oh, anything over what, 75 years old or something
Yeah,
like
I
that.
don't know.
I found there's a lot of exceptions to that. And
Okay.
that the copyright laws, I think they're under Title 17 of the United States Code. Could be wrong about that. Are have a lot of exceptions and they're confusing. And I would never narrate a book that was 77 years old and feel that I was clear until I got a legal opinion that I really was, and
Okay.
that the book was in the public domain. So,
And but
if
that
you're
would
looking
mean,
to do public domain work,
yeah,
books that
but
have
you're doing
returned,
public domain work, and so you were
yeah,
looking for something that would not be copyrightable. Therefore, you would, I'm summarizing, you would say, I'm going to cross-check this with somebody else like you do with
yeah,
your partner for accountability. You would
yep,
make sure that there's clearance on it before you spend 4 months of your life narrating something that you thought was copyright
yeah.
free. You just have it verified because we don't know what we don't know, correct?
And the older they get, the easier it is. I mean, if you wanted to narrate the Christmas Carol, for example, I mean, I think Dickens is clear.
I
But and I did, as many people have done as a labor of love, I did Bartleby, the Scrivener, all of Melville is clear. But I don't know the situation with Arthur Miller, for example, who's been dead for some time, but I think all of his plays are still. I don't think anything's public domain yet.
Okay, I think he's still dead though. That much I know. I mean,
Yeah, that much I'm pretty sure of.
I'm an expert in that area. Okay. So you can take my word on that.
Yeah,
Uh,
very good.
um, so, uh, so Lisa asked, "Oh, is that true even if there's a royalty share involved?" So you're getting compensated for, but you're
Lisa,
still
you're
work for
coming up
hire,
with
right?
words. Uh, Lisa, I don't know, but that's a really good question because you are participating in the, profits of, uh, an illegal, for lack of a better term, work. That is one I would wanna run by my lawyer.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's a and then what's the legal difference between dissemination? Oh gosh, and instant.
Who
I
who
didn't even
sent
read
that
the
who
whole.
sent that one in?
I like that. You don't have to leave now. I like somebody that has a good sense of humor.
No,
Uh,
no, no, please stay.
yeah, yeah.
But, call me back channel and we'll talk about that.
Okay, there you go.
In
So,
California, there's a difference between everything, so.
as a base, I shy away from character novel books. My female voices are horrible.
Oh, great question. I was on an APAC years ago, and I came into a seminar late, and it was about this very topic, and as I opened the door, one of the panelists, if it wasn't Hillary Huber, it was somebody of that stature, was in the middle of saying, "It's not about pitch," and she wanted us to know that, or, "It's not only about pitch." So I do female voices. The number one thing I try to do as not a bass, but in the lower end of baritone, is to try to take some resonance out of it. And you got to experiment with this. Because if you take resonance out, you might be adding air. And you don't necessarily want to add air because it might not fit with a somebody who is to be considered a serious character. So first thing I do is when I'm reviewing the book for whether or not I should do it, I look at it and say, can I get the female characters here without taking somebody out of the consensual illusion here? The second thing I do is try to experiment with taking resonance out, not adding more air than you should, and again, test it on somebody you trust as to whether or not it sounds convincing. All that said, don't shy away from it just because you're in that bottom 40% of vocal pitch. I know, reverse the problem. I know a lot of women narrators who have to do male voices and who make it convincing, um, not by messing with pitch or even resonance so much, it's vocal mannerism. So when you build a character, They talk in a clipped way? I mean, are they like this? Are they always in a hurry? Or are they kind of legato? And, I thought about that, but in the end, as you observe people out in the world, you'll find voices, male and female, like that. If you can imitate them, if you can mimic them in a constructive way like that, you will come up with a feminine sound in a way that the listener will accept, and the issue is then over. As if you are really basso profundo, I can understand what you're up against, but it doesn't mean you're disqualified from this. And this is one in which I would seek coaching. And in your case, I might even seek coaching from Shannon or Carol Monda or another woman who has definite opinions and experience
Hmm.
with this sort of thing.
Wait. Are there women that have? I think that's on both sides that have definite opinions because I've run into a couple
Well,
male
Carol and
coaches.
Shannon sure do. I'm gonna
Okay,
give you that.
and you know
Uh,
what? You definitely want that
yeah,
from your coaches that they have definite opinions and they're willing to tell them to you without
yeah,
acting like they're all that. And that's the best coaches are able to say, "Well, Don, no,
yeah,
that's a bad idea." And they may not say it that directly, but they'll say, you might want to consider this and this and this and that. When they're saying that, that's like, okay, they're really saying
yeah,
no,
yeah.
but in a gentle way.
Any coach I've worked with, male, female, is going to suggest something about the quality of the world you're creating when you talk, and um, not just acting coaches, but directors, such as our friend Paul Allen Rubin, is going to talk about uh, the feeling of authenticity you're getting from the narrative. Paul's a great one for remembering that as I'm going to quote him now, the voice can't act. The sound of your voice as you're acting is a byproduct of your connection with the text. And the sound of your voice as you're acting will take care of itself if you're connected with a situation or a character that is fraught with danger or longing or elation. It'll come out, and you don't have to do anything special with your voice. If you're doing something special with your voice, like me, like Phil, uh, to do an accent to develop verisimilitude in the narrative, that's fine. But the emotion is not coming through your voice; it's coming through your connection with the material.
That's why it's, we sat around at the New England Narrator Retreat, Paul and I, and he's talking about working with all sorts of different people. And he would say every once in a while he's been called in to work with somebody who is not an actor. Maybe it's an author who's reading their own work, and they call him in to try to make sense of somebody who really has no acting training
Yeah,
and is doing their own thing. And he said the other thing that he said to me one time that I thought was pretty funny was, sometimes I'll tell somebody something and they won't get it. And I'll go to a different method. He says, but after about the third time, I just go, you nailed it. Uh, because
it's
because what happens is there comes
it's
some
true.
point if you tell someone, oh, so this is a hint for you for if
Yeah,
you're out there and your coach is telling you to do something and you do it multiple times and you still don't get it, you want the coach that the only reason he's hired to help that person make the best of what they have right then in the moment. It is not a client. He wouldn't do this if he's on a one-on-one coaching situation. He would
right.
go to the fourth time, the fifth time, and try to find a different way for you to do it. But note there are some situations where if you ask your mother-in-law about how something is, she's likely to just say, "Yeah, that's fantastic." So that isn't always. Pick your advisors
Yeah,
wisely and carefully because some people will tell you what they think you want to hear,
right.
and the great coaches will, and because Paul will do this and I've seen him do it. Now you can do it 4 or 5 times and he's still working on trying to get you to the right place,
Right.
unless it's a situation that you must record it today, and then he'll abandon it after about the third try because he
Yeah.
realizes, nope, Don will never get that until we're out of the situation that we're in today. That might take him 2 weeks or 2 months or a different rehearsal process. So he's really good at compartmentalizing, and that's why he's such a
Right.
great director. between getting the most out of me today versus if we're offline and we're not in the middle of a session,
Mhm.
to say, okay, I could take this guy and work with him, and he doesn't give up on anybody. But he
Yeah,
also is relentless in that you have to be willing to go through a few processes before you get to something that he's like, that's it, nailed it, or we're not there yet, but you're on the road. So that's
right.
one of the things about a great coach.
If you're
They are
lucky enough, yeah, if
relentless.
you're lucky enough to work with him, over time, you will develop the courage to do less, or at least to not push as hard.
Well,
It
so
doesn't sound
would that
right in the
apply to
beginning.
female voices too?
Well, I think so. I think so. I think it applies to any character voice. Probably about 60 to 70% of the effort you feel like you should put in
Hmm.
is enough. Um, but again, you can test this if you're on ears who will be frank with you if you have any doubt about it. But usually, hey, it's Johnny Heller. Thank goodness.
All right, let me get.
Usually, and I think Johnny will agree with this.
He always
If you
does.
if you feel like you need to do 6 things with your voice to make a character convincing, male, female, whatever, you probably only need to do 2 or 3.
Mr. Heller, let me hold on. I've got to get you in here so everyone else can see you.
Your booth is
Alright.
not flooded?
Well, my booth that well, I'll tell you the whole story.
If you're sitting with, water up to your ankles around a whole bunch of electrical equipment,
We would be
I'm
furious.
not there I am. Okay, now I'm in the group. Yeah,
yeah.
I show my here, let me show my new shirt. I don't know if you can see this.
Oh yeah, that looks like you're underwater.
Outstanding. For those of
Joanna
us who
bought
grew
that
up
for
with
me.
Charlie Brown.
For those of you who don't know, Johnny had sent us a text and checked in with us before the show started and said, "I've got a plumber coming over. We have this problem and we have to deal with it." And it's like, "Yep, it's called life." And if you can join us, so see, he's joining us now. So we'll take a little tangent here, Johnny. How you doing? How's your plumbing? You feeling good?
It's fine. It was yeah, I'm fine. It's just
Asking a man over 60 how his plumbing is
the
maybe not a good idea.
the biggest problem was that, I knew the dogs be barking the whole time that they were there.
Yeah.
And just so you guys know from those who wanna know from the technical standpoint, 'cause, I'm technical, the Hoover flicker that's attached to the Frogomstat, went on the Dallywhacker, so they had to put a new thingamabob in. Yeah, so
Yeah.
now we're okay.
Well, you get the Schnarpdoodle part taken care of and you're home free.
So, I mean, and I apologize to those of you who give a crap if I'm here or not.
We have some people that showed up because
Both
they heard
both
you
of
weren't
you.
going to be here. Wait, I I'm just so that you have this for later because I think you could use this against somebody, which I thought was brilliant, by the way. I heard Johnny wasn't going to be here today, so I thought I'd tune in.
Did somebody
Charge
say
him
that?
double for the next show.
Somebody
Was that
put
Bill
that in the
Lord?
chat, and I love it. And
Yeah.
Was that Bill
we
Lord?
yeah, I don't know. But Adam and I sent him $5 because we were just so happy about that comment. Anyway,
Worth a cup of coffee.
we were talking about doing female voices as a guy, and
Yes.
might you have any input on that? Because I think it's supposed to be. I should do it all a super high pitch. Hi, how you doing? And
That's
this is
exactly right. You wanna, suck helium and then go for the yeah, here's the thing, we talk about this a lot, and I see some of the quotes, people think so and so's got a great at it, and so and so's great, and I've heard people say, "This coach is great, and that coach is great," and I'll tell you something, I don't always agree. I don't always disagree, but I don't always agree with everything. I just don't wanna say that I don't agree to create to so there's not an issue. I will say this about the voices. The biggest problem for the audiobook narrator specifically, not actors in general, but audiobook narration specifically, in terms of doing, different voices, different genders, is you. It's not the listener. It's not. Look, when you decide you're going to do a book and you're not multicast, so Adam's not playing Adam and I'm not playing, but you're playing everybody. The listeners already suspended their disbelief. They already accept it. So just play the character the way the character is in the scene that exists. I've said 1,000 times, cast your characters from your frame of reference. If Adam Barr is this way, Adam's married to Therese. So if I know Therese, I'll think of someone who I would cast as Therese. I don't have to, I know her, I can play her. I don't have to impersonate. I don't have to impersonate Don Baarns. But Don Barnes speaks in a certain way, with a certain syntax and a certain style, and I have to continue that. The character is the character is the character, and the audience has already suspended their disbelief. Stop worrying about it. If you raise your voice 15 octaves, that's stupid. It throws you way off. It throws
Ouch.
everybody leaves the book. I've listened to books where I've really enjoyed it, and all of a sudden, the 2 problems I have is when someone makes the book a cartoon with a ridiculous vocal choice. It's not a vocal choice that makes the character. It's syntax and thought and needs and wants. Same thing, same as any human being. The other thing is when it's a nonfiction book and you start giving voices to,
Oh, yeah.
King Louis XVIII or something. Stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I it can
If I
ruin
get
you.
if I get FDR in a book, I absolutely will not say,
Yeah,
"The only thing we have to fear
yeah.
is fear."
Well, if you're gonna do Winston Churchill, if you're gonna do, Barack Obama, then you've gotta do James K. Polk. You've gotta do everybody,
Yeah,
and you
you
can't.
can do it. Can do
So
it.
it's so you need but in terms of males playing females and females playing males, there are techniques, and you can take coaching. I know, Katie Flaherty who did something in New England with that. I know a lot of people help with that. Most decent audiobook coaches can help with that, but the biggest issue is stop acting like it's a big issue.
But
We've already
you could say
suspended our
people you could say people the last 20 minutes, you've condensed my original advice into don't overthink it.
yeah,
Play the character. Yeah.
it's really that simple. Otherwise, you're gonna be worried about, "Is this voice the right octave, and what I put Shirley here and Lisa there and, Bernadette there." I'm like, what are you doing?" Yeah, yeah, when you watch a movie, we all watch Stranger Things. That's not a true story. There is no Vecna, and yet we all accept it. Stop you just have to understand that the audience is already the listener is already accepting you being everybody.
Mhm.
Stop challenging them by making idiotic choices that don't make any sense.
Well,
Play the character in the scene the way the character would behave in the scene. They know that Adam is not a woman. They know it.
Gosh, I
That's
hope
not
so.
the issue.
yeah, the only minor pushback on that is that, I don't know I'm making idiotic choices. Other than I
Well, you do though. If you do this, if you're doing, I
Yeah,
mean that's just stupid. No, unless you're playing, unless the character's a clown,
right.
Yeah.
or unless the character has a squeaky clown-like, Flip Wilson doing
Yeah.
If you feel like SpongeBob when you're doing the character, stop.
yeah, unless the character's SpongeBob.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know this don't forget anything you say in audiobooks, there's always an unless or except.
Yeah.
There's nothing is in concrete. It's all creative arts. So you've gotta be creative.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna cycle back here to a question we missed earlier. When you work, this is for Adam's lawyerly thing. When you work with an indie author's first audiobook, could you expand on the essential elements that you'd insist on being in the contract? What elements would be nice to
That's a good
have?
question. It's short. It's like a page and a half. Um, I
I know.
mentioned an indemnification clause, um, to save you from liability for something that they should be looking at. Um, I have a form for this, so do, a number of other narrators, colleagues. You wanna make sure they know it's a work for hire. In other words, you're not the author of the work and not responsible for defaming anybody with the actual content. You're simply hired to do part of the work to make it an audiobook. Uh, the deadlines, the rate, uh, whether or not you're union, how the rate is split between the union and you, and it may how many pickups you'll do, how many sets of pickups you'll do. You
Because
know,
you do an infinite number, right? Until they are happy with it, you're not
yeah.
happy.
Sometimes it seems like that. Uh, of course, any mistake of yours, you want to be stand up and take care of it. But ordinarily, one set of pickups and maybe a second set, charged at a rate of whatever your post production contractor is charging you, um, oh, unless it's minimal, um, and make sure they know that's what they're entitled to. And then I like to have some sort of conversation with them, either by email or in the agreement, that once they hand it over to you, the acting choices are yours. In other words, They've hired you to be a creative artist as an actor, and you can't throughout the book have them picking it apart and saying, "Well, I'd rather you did it this way." I've made the mistake of allowing that with certain authors, and it gets in the way of a smooth and unified production. So if in exchange for that, they want to hear the first 15 minutes, as is done in the ACX universe, let them do that. But once they sign off on the first 15 minutes or the portion that you give them that defines how you're going to do the characters, they need to leave you alone and let you do it. If you think there's any reason that they might not leave you alone and let you do it, put it in the contract that the acting choices are yours. It sounds harsh, but you're saving everybody a lot of trouble later. And if you're working for a first-time author or a first-time client and you're not sure about their financial solvency, get a small deposit. If they balk at giving it to you, it might be a signal that there could be trouble down the road.
Yeah. I also think it's critical that you get that I'm the artist. I'm going
Mhm.
to do this to the best of my ability. I want to make you look good, but I can't have you micromanaging my acting choices through everything. One, they could ask me to do something that I'm not good at doing, and now I have to degrade my
Yes.
performance for something that I wouldn't do anyway. But
Mhm.
the most critical part of that is you're getting it up front and getting it out there. Johnny does the same thing. They make sure that if I tell someone later, I'm not doing a pickup on that, that was an acting choice. They just think I'm trying to get out of work. They
Yeah.
think that it's not that I made a good choice to begin with. So if you tell them up front, now Adam isn't saying I'm not willing to do it because I don't want to do it and I don't like you and I'm
Yeah.
not. It's
We
no, I
we
made
we
an
talked
acting
about
choice.
this. Yeah.
And that's a
Yeah.
different thing than if I tell them afterward, no, I'm not doing pickup number 3 on that. Uh, I mean, anyway.
If they say do it the way Johnny Heller would, I say,
Well,
you know, I'm not going to.
you have to I mean, there one of the things newer people, including newer authors forget, newer, newer to audiobooks, is that there are retakes. There's gonna be retakes.
Yeah.
So you really have to address it, especially with an indie I mean, if you work with, Penguin Random House or Macmillan or something, they've got their system.
Yeah.
They're all the established people, but, Adam Barr's first book, narrated by Don Baarns, they made some questions. Well, how many readers will say, "I still don't like the way you said that." Well, I already did it. You have to you have to set things up so it doesn't become otherwise the project is never done.
Right.
Right.
I
Right.
can't think of a single, look at all the films that are made, and I'm telling you, every single film ever made has tons and tons of scenes on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Every bit of art maybe needs one more dash of color or a little less color, but, sooner or later, you gotta put it out there.
Yep. Well, what
That
was this?
polite but firm understanding in the beginning, just establishes the boundaries in the relationship, and everybody ends up being happier.
Let me ask you this, Adam, because I think this may come up for a lot of people, both experienced and inexperienced. When you start talking about a contract,
Mhm.
the word itself is just packed with legal ominousness, and
Yeah.
I think there's fears,
Yeah.
and I think that let's talk about so I think it's very important that your relationship with actor, author is one that's pleasant and friendly to start with. Say, "Here's some legal schmeagle crap we have to get out of the way
Yeah.
for both of our protection." Otherwise, I know you talk to almost anybody, and all of a sudden you say something that ventures into the world of lawsuits, legality,
Yeah.
things that and I'm telling you, people right away, their hackles are up, regardless of the fact that it's just part of business. So I really think and tell me what you think of this, because you do much more of this than I. When you enter into this, because you're a lawyer, you probably have a way of saying it that I don't, but how do you say, "Look, that we have
Yeah.
to handle some legal crap here."
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I actually try to avoid the word contract,
I say,
although it is a contract.
do you say
It's
agreement?
a declaration of the rights and responsibilities of the parties,
Yeah, that sounds safe.
yeah. But what I say, I
Got
when I'm doing the intake with an indie author, I say, I'm glad that we're interested in working together. I'm looking forward to collaborating. Uh, in these situations, I have a short agreement that I use that lays out all the facts and responsibilities that we both have to keep each other, for the protection of both of us. Here's a draft of it. Let me know. Read it. Take your time with it. Let me know what your thoughts are, and if necessary, we can make adjustments. And then once we're happy with it, we'll both sign and we'll begin work. So I tend to do it in collaborational terms, for lack of a better
I,
description. That don't use the word contract. Use a word like agreement, and make it clear that, as you said, it's for the protection of both, to make sure there are no misunderstandings, and so that the collaboration goes forth smoothly and you
Yeah,
get the audiobook you want.
I think it's brilliant to use the word "this is a draft" because now you are saying we're working together already, and here's
Yeah.
my first thing, and I'm not set in stone, so we could talk about details if somebody has. So that's an excellent. So agreement, draft, collaboration. Those are excellent words that I
Yeah, and
could come up with.
it tends to, especially if somebody's nervous about doing this for the first time, has never done it before, it tends to, keep people, calm, and build layers of trust so that they feel comfortable going forward. Um, and if they see, listen to your work, they have some familiarity with you, or they might know you. On that side, on that indie side of my business, fortunately, knocking the wood of my desk, I've never had to bring legal action on one of the agreements I signed with an indie author,
that's
and
great.
everybody's behaved pretty much as they should. Of course, on the publisher side, you don't worry about any of this because the contract is not really with you. You're a contractor of the publisher to produce a work for hire.
Oh, good. Now, what do you? And I assume you've already talked about. What are you working on now? Did you guys write? I don't want to. I shouldn't
Yeah,
ask
well,
questions like
we
that.
were mentioning why we all love series so much, and I'm working
Did
on
you
the
say
ninth
series or Siri?
series. Yeah, well, serials,
No,
Like
uh,
breakfast cereals.
no, I
breakfast
thought you
cereals.
meant Siri, the Apple guy.
Well, no, I'm an Android. But, yeah, I'm in ninth in a thriller series, by J. Robert Kennedy, the Dylan Kane series that I've been working on for some years now. I really enjoy doing them because 'cause they're like movie scenes, bang, 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 bang,
Yeah,
bang,
yeah.
and it's interesting to play with the intensity of those characters and go back. We were talking about going back to book 6 for a character I haven't seen in 3 books, and talking about what you said, Johnny, about doing duplicatable voices who you might see someday again.
Oh, yeah.
And, my friend Scott Medbury in Melbourne, Australia, is about to give me American Falls 14. So that series has been going on almost since I became a narrator in 2018, right after you mentored me into the business. So, those things are happening, plus some I've got some interesting journalistic feeling fiction about the rise of U.S. soccer after the '94 World Cup by Alan Rothenberg. That'll be a real interesting book um, for Podium. And another Tiger Woods book coming up in March by the noted sports writer Bob Herrig, who's always great to work with, and that's through Macmillan.
Oh,
So
great.
yeah, that's I'm looking forward. The first quarter's um, shaping up shaping up pretty nicely. I'm fortunate.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Far busier than me or Don, I guess. Yeah, good work.
And how
I don't know
about
about
you,
that.
Johnny? What do you have coming up? We're getting close to the end here. So what do
Oh,
you?
right. Well, interesting thing. I just did. I think I mentioned it a couple weeks ago, but I've just the last 2 books, the one I'm doing now and the one I just finished, were me doing a book I've already done.
Yeah, yeah,
And yeah, so the one I'm doing now is called Shots on Goal, which is a middle-aged soccer book, and it's great, and I did it, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, and I was talking to Scott Brick the other day about it, and he said a lot of the big publishers have some kinda legal schmeagle thing where they can't repurchase, the work already done.
mm,
They have to do it again, so they still want me to do it, but whatever I did is fallen out of I don't know what I don't know, and I have to do it again, so it's weird to do the book again. But I'm doing that, and then I heard from, and if you guys remember Christopher Moore, who did Noir and Raz,
Oh, I love
Razz
Christopher Moore,
Raz,
yeah.
he sent me a note that he's doing a 3rd in that series. So
Yes.
I don't know when that happens, but that'll be another visit there.
Those
There's
books are
other
a
stuff
blast.
coming up, but I don't like to, I don't like to say too much about it because as you know, I don't like to let publishers and people to hire me know that I may be busy. I prefer them to know that I'm working, but potentially available. So, because I always say, as you know, Adam, I say that when you get jobs, that's great. You should gloat and crow and everything. but don't say you're booked up till June if it's only
Oh,
January.
no. I wanna
Yeah.
make clear to Dan Zitz, Steve
Yeah,
Wagner, and
yeah,
everybody
yeah,
else in
yeah,
the
just
world that I do have open space.
yeah, because you never know, something will come in and it could be, and as Don and I have mentioned a bunch of times, if you're known to be a fairly reasonably quick worker, if you can get it done, if there's a book that comes in that wasn't generally it's not on their calendar, if something came their way and they need somebody to get it done, they'll call me, and
Yeah,
if they think I'm too booked up, they won't. But
yeah.
the fact is I'm not too booked up because I've left some openings in my schedule because, as you know, we're on the move here in the Heller household.
That's right. Well,
Coming up, yeah.
What do you
I think it
mean you're
was
on the move?
I haven't announced it everywhere, but Joey and I have, we've bought a place here in Manhattan. So we're moving from our place to that place. I'm letting you know because I have to let the land
so it's gonna be
the landlord
Heller
know.
And
Tower
that
now?
Huh?
It's gonna be Heller Tower?
Yeah, Heller Tower, yeah,
Yeah.
doing I wish. But
and you're
we're
moving
moving a
I
across
love
little
this
upstate.
part of I
We're
love this
moving
part of the show
upstate.
because it makes me feel like I'm on Carson,
Yeah.
like when you say, "Where are you?" "Well, I got 7 nights at the Sands coming up,"
We're how you doing? We're moving upstate, literally, 3 blocks upstate, so yeah.
So you're walking the stuff between the two
Yeah, pretty
places.
much gonna walk a dresser over there. Yeah. So that's coming up, and I will say, because we're talking about stuff coming up, I talked to, Don, we've coming up, I should look at our show guests, 'cause we actually get to do this. Today is, this fellow here, uh, GM Hakeem is next week,
Yep.
and we're gonna have later, we have Steve, Bellew from Athon Books returning in February.
Mhm.
So we've got some stuff coming up. I wanna talk about Don's new thing, and also I've got a, Sean Pratt and I are doing a thing with VoiceOver Extra, January 27th and 28th, fiction and nonfiction. Sean and I are there for both nights, so go to VoiceOver Extra for that. That's coming up, and the New England Narrator Retreat 2026, October 19th, and I just finished, making sure that we have Connolly's booked for the Naughties for the, because that's March what's that, March 2nd, I think, Monday night? So if you're in town for the Audies and you didn't get invited and you wanna go to or you don't wanna or you just wanna come to town, the Naughties are there. It's a Connolly's bar on 45th. We all go there. You can be there before, during, or after. You don't have to wear a tux, but you can. And we all go there and we hang out. There's other parties. There's other things. It's not the only thing, but it doesn't cost anything unless you buy stuff, and
Yeah.
it's fun. So I'm letting you know it's online, so it's free. It's just a place to go if you don't have a place to go, or it's also a destination because a lot of people are there and it's fun.
Super
So there,
cool.
sharing all that.
Awesome. I've got, since you didn't ask, but I'll say it anyway. Pre-read is coming out here this week. I've been working on this for months. It's crazy behind the scenes, and it will be available. So for people that want to get their prepping done much faster, I think you'll be pretty impressed with how this works. And it's been a crazy amount of work, but it'll be ready this week. So maybe I'll check. And it has some updates since the last time you've seen it, Johnny. I think you'll be impressed with some of the details there.
I'm always impressed by you.
They're pretty slick. But
Take
most
my money,
importantly,
Don.
they will allow you to take 90% of what you need to do to prep a book and get it done. You still need to read. You still need to skim, depending on if you're doing a series. It's not like you have no work to do, but it'll do 90% of it in 10 minutes. That would have taken you a lot of time. And I'm working with some really world-class preppers who are my advisors. And these are people that prep for a living. They're going to be using it too in the background, and then that'll allow them to be able to get things back to you faster if you're still using them. Some books you won't need to use them, but they have so much work they can't get to it fast enough. Johnny's got a deadline, and they need to turn something around in a few days. They're going to have 90% done in the first 10 minutes, and then they're going to build from there. And then we'll have a discussion at some point about AI and how that works. And luckily, this is ethical AI where this stuff is protected. So I've been really horsing on that stuff too, and working on copyright and how all that stuff works. So I have some good stuff coming up. I'm also looking for some advisors. I've got a special program that will come up that is a paid thing that is going to give you access to some things I have coming up here in the next couple months that I think you'll be really wowed by. So if you ever
I'll
want to,
advise the hell out of you for
yes,
free.
and you have. And
Listen,
so,
if Doc Brown says it's worth a gajillion gigawatts, I'm in.
yep,
Yeah, yeah.
it is. Doc. Well, that's I'm working on the Doc Brown thing. Okay, I'm halfway there. Give
Yeah,
me
yeah,
another
yeah.
give
Not what
me
I
another
meant,
month.
but I like it.
Marty,
I like it.
Marty.
Segue. Good segue.
So, for those of you, basically though, we're at the end of the show here today. The Adam, I could talk to you for about 30 hours, but and
It's a
Johnny, it's
blast.
terrible.
Thank you so much.
I'm very happy that your plumbing is and this is just your
It was
personal
just a
stuff.
busted toilet thing. No, there was not a flooding or anything. It's,
Okay. Well, we're
yeah.
happy that that is all
Yeah.
we are happy that that's
I'm glad
resolved.
you're all together with my toilet.
we are all rooting for you, okay? And of course, any final thing there, Johnny?
Only that, Adam, because we missed dinner this weekend,
Yeah.
let's reschedule if you're feeling better.
We're
Everybody,
definitely
by the
gonna
way, here's
schedule.
something. Everybody, I don't care what you think, get your damn flu shot. Everybody's sick. Everybody. So, stop being, just go get it. I don't care what, Secretary Brainworm says. Go get your damn shot.
Get the flu shot. Trust me.
I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. So
Good man. Oh.
yeah. Anyway, great seeing you all. Happy New Year.
Likewise. Thanks,
Glad you're
gentlemen.
here. This is gonna be a fantastic year. We look forward to seeing you next week. And as always, we're excited to see you on the wires. Have a great day. Talk to you
Hi,
later.
everybody.
Take care.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.